let's start off, Stephen, with a look at one comment that you made saying, I have been an unflinching optimist on the Chinese economy for 25 years. I'm now more concerned than at any point in my career. As a China watcher, what makes you so worried in particular?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Richard, is that my optimism for 25 years has been based largely on an analytically sound case for economic development and rebalancing. Under Xi Jinping, the approach has shifted away from the analytics of consumer-led, services-led rebalancing to more of a ideological approach that's wrapped around the strength of his personality. And that's a very different development philosophy than the one that has been so successful in delivering 40 years of spectacular growth in the Chinese economy. And there's a number of specific headwinds, whether they're demographic, deleveraging, property, the regulatory pressures on private sector, internet platform companies, common prosperity, the whole productivity issue in China, that make this new approach far more problematic than anything that led me to conclude that China was unstoppable in the past. So yeah, I'm worried.
And it seems like it's almost two certain types of policies that are kind of butting heads. It's COVID zero and reaching around 5.5% growth target. And when you see economists continuing to slash their forecast left and right, if in fact China cannot reach that growth target or at least abandon it, is this a sign that Xi Jinping is losing his grip on power in some way? Politically, what does this mean for him?
Well, yeah, look, he's got a strong grip on power. We all know that. There's a lot of speculation in the West without any real concrete evidence to support it that, he's in trouble going into the 20th Party Congress. But, the growth target for this year, 5.5%, forget it. I mean, it'll be a miracle if China hits 4. And there are many forecasters that I've seen that are now flirting with cutting their numbers below 3. And so the COVID zero policy is not appropriate when you have a highly transmissible variant, as we see now with various signs of Omicron spreading in Europe. Once again, we're having another wave in the United States. Shanghai is not Wuhan. And the Wuhan model worked because it was a totally different variant. And, with spillover effects evident in Beijing and most likely in other large cities, China's just going to go from 1-0 COVID-induced lockdown to another. And, this is an unsustainable approach to managing a public health crisis in any country.
Steve, if we look at today's PMI numbers, which again show this contraction on both the services and the manufacturing side, and you delve into it and you look at the employment component, that reads for even more depressing reading. Now, that's very important given what's going on because of COVID zero and its repercussions. It must be hugely worrisome for China's social stability. And there are other reasons to be worried there as well.
Well, good point, Richard. One of the first things I learned, in my early days as a China watcher is that social stability is everything. And when you have an employment problem, that's what shapes and drives Chinese economic policy above anything else. And unemployment's on the rise. It's on the rise for migrant workers due to lockdown-related pressures in supply chains, and it's up for significantly for college graduates due to these regulatory pressures bearing down on China's most dynamic private sector companies. So, this is a serious problem.
And I wanted to get to your book as well, Accidental Conflict, when it comes to the relationship between U.S. and China. First of all, why is it accidental, you say? And do you think with China warming up with ties with Russia, how big of a risk is that geopolitically?
Well, it's an accidental conflict because it's based on a clash of false narratives that both nations have with respect to each other. The United States blames China for its a trade deficit when its savings problem gives it trade deficits with 106 countries. China blames America for containing its growth and limiting its rebalancing when it's afraid to take the tough steps it needs to take to rebalance its economy. So these false impressions collide with one another, and they create a conflict that in many respects is based on false premises. It did not have to happen. It's interesting to see leading Chinese officials saying that China can't afford to see the U.S. Relationship deteriorate any further. And yet, as you just said, here's China with a now unlimited new partnership with a pariah state, the Russian Federation.